Anyone who has followed my channel or knows me knows that I spend a lot of time in my garage, and that my garage is a place where I shoot a good amount of content. But over the years, I've just compiled more and more junk, and this space has slowly become a nasty, cluttered mess. But recently that all changed when I finally decided to take a stand and do something about this unorganized disaster. It was time to turn my garage into a space I could be proud of. I had a vision of making this space look and feel more like an actual bike shop, a fun, clean space where me and the homies could post up after a ride and drink a beer. The first thing I had to do was clean everything out and get all the posters and signs off the walls. I know it's hard to believe, but yes, all that crap in my driveway came out of my garage. Once everything was out of the garage, it was time to prep the floor and walls. The concrete floors in my garage were a disaster, so I had to chip out all the loose pieces so I could patch them. You can see here how bad some of the cracks and holes were. After that, I painted the walls brown. The plan was to put wood on the walls, so the paint didn't need to be perfect. We were using rough sawn lumber, so I didn't want the white of the walls to show through any cracks in the seams of the wood. If you're wondering where we put all the bikes while this project was happening, we stored them inside. I then cleaned the floor super good with a brush and soapy water to prep it for the concrete, and Kim used a shop vac to clean up the wall by the garage door so she could paint it olive green. The rough sawn lumber we were using was actually pine, and the initial plan was to use self-leveling concrete on the floor, but we would eventually pivot from that plan. Prior to pouring the concrete, it is really important that you have a good foundation, so I put this seam lock locking glue between all the cracks. After that, we patched all the big holes in the existing concrete floor. So once we actually started to put the trim and the wood up, I wasn't able to get too much footage just because it was busy, but here's a shot of the trim that we did around the window. I think it turned out really nice. We used a table saw to rip all the trim pieces. And here's a shot of the door trim right here. I think that also turned out really nice. And to make the process of hanging the wood planks smoother, we actually located the wall studs and then attached furring strips to the studs. That way, when it came time to nail up the wood planks, we didn't have to worry about missing studs or trying to locate the studs. We could simply just nail the planks directly into the furring strips, and that kind of helped the process move a lot more smoothly. Once we started to hang the pine on the wall, we used this nail gun, and that thing is fun as hell. With the exception of having to make cuts for outlets, the window, and door, once we started hanging the pine, it went pretty smooth. Lefty is super handy and knows a good amount about carpentry work, so he actually came over to help. Here's a shot of my stepmom, Jane. She was incredibly helpful with this project, and I cannot thank her enough. Here's a little shot after we got all the wood up. I was blown away by how good it looked. After getting the walls done, I needed to think about storage. I had some shelving before, but it wasn't enough to really store things effectively. So, Lefty being the handyman he is, he came over and he helped me build some shelves. Now I have a place to store my cooler, camp gear, parts bin, cleaning supplies, etc. We even built a little shelf next to my bike work stand for chain lube and other bike-specific products. And after building that shelf, we noticed there was a perfect spot for my mini fridge to keep those post-ride beers cold. I also purchased some tall, skinny totes for other miscellaneous bike things like tubes and tires, and I stored that here. We decided against using the self-leveling concrete because of how jacked up the floor was, and instead decided to cap the floor with 3 inches of actual concrete. Before laying the new concrete, I actually applied a layer of concrete bonding adhesive just to make sure we got a good bond between the original floor and the new concrete. Here's a shot of the floor all prepped with the bonding adhesive and rebar, and here comes Miguel with the concrete truck. Luckily, I grew up pouring concrete with my dad as a kid, so I have a little bit of knowledge in this area, but Miguel was a huge help. Any of you who have ever poured concrete before, you know that once that concrete truck is there and the concrete is down, you have limited time to work. So I was not able to get a ton of footage of the actual concrete pour, but here's a little clip of the trowel machine we used to finish the concrete. At this point, the floor is just about finished and it's looking really nice. Once we got the concrete down, Lefty helped me install a super nice dimmer light in the garage, and we installed the dimmer switch on the wall to run that light. I thought this made things look super clean. Here's a shot of the concrete after it was finished. I waited about 3 weeks and then it was time to stain the new concrete. I used this stain right here and the color is Battleship Gray. This stuff was really nice. After taping all the spots I didn't want to get stain on, I basically just painted all the edges with a brush and then rolled the rest of the stain on with a roller, which went really smooth. The next morning I rolled on 2 coats of concrete sealer and the floor looked incredible when it was finished. The finished result of this project has far exceeded my expectations. The walls, the floor, I had no idea going into this that it was going to look this good. Before, the walls had all kinds of holes and just looked bad. Now I have these beautiful pine wood plank walls that almost feel like the inside of a cabin. The old floor was an absolute disaster. Craters, cracks, grease. Now it looks like a showroom floor you could eat off of. The old space was not well lit. Now I have an LED dimmer light controlled by a switch on the wall, as well as another LED light above the garage door opener, which really lights up the space. Before, nothing was organized and storage was limited. There was miscellaneous things I had stored in totes on the floor, and now I have shelves with everything organized. I also built another shelf above the door to store lawn chairs, and then I rigged up these spots on the wall to store my wheel set and bro pad. To me, the wheel set, pad, and bikes hanging on each side of the garage kind of resemble art in a way and just looks cool. Now let's talk about the cost of this project. So the base paint for the walls was $20. I got a good deal on the lumber, so that was only $375. The nails for the nail gun were $40. The concrete adhesive was $20. I bought one bag of concrete patch and one was given to me, so that was $25. The LED lights and dimmer switch was $115. The rebar for the concrete was $50. The concrete itself was $980. The concrete stain and sealer was given to me. So in total, I was able to do this whole project for a little over $1,600. I want to give a massive thank you to everyone who helped me with this project. There were some really long days working on this project, and there's absolutely no way I could have done this without all of your help. And to me, this really just isn't a garage anymore. It's a space that I can be proud of, a space that I can hang out after rides, I can tinker on bikes, I can shoot content, and I could not be more thrilled with it. The old space was dark and dingy, and it worked fine, but it was just a garage. To me, this now is like another finished room in the house, and honestly, it's probably the nicest room in the house. And I just can't thank you all enough. For everyone who watched this video, I appreciate you watching. If you guys liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, keep crushing it.